Board to order, and the first order of business is, I believe, the agenda, as long as it is, stands as printed. I think you've all had a chance to look at the January 22nd minutes. Could I have a motion to approve?
I can't hear you.
No, those are the ones that John had to.
Oh,
Yes.
we're still waiting on
Still
that's
waiting.
right, because- okay, yeah, we're waiting
On
for
John to
our
pay
attorney
that
to
part.
confirm some of the language.
So there's no minutes.
So scratch that.
Just the term.
I don't have any correspondence or announcements. Does anyone else have anything? Okay, well, let's get right busy here. Our first order of business is the initial presentation, site plan review and approval for Peter and Catherine Sharapko at 383 Morton Road for a covered walkway and greenhouse. Whenever you guys are ready, take it away.
Okay. Does she need to be able to have a photograph, a picture of this, the video person, of the boards?
You'll find it good, yes, yes.
Get it up on the screen.
Are you?
Oh,
Yeah.
You get a picture of that first? Done? Oh.
I don't even, oh, there it is.
Um, Well,
Like an easel.
well, so they can see it.
This is not something that's in the package. It's the house and the garage. And the view from the house toward where the greenhouse. It's in black and white. It's black and white house in the town. So that's.
Wait a minute, this
It's just a view from the house.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Catherine Sharapko. I'm one of the owners at 383 Morton Road. And what for the several years that Peter and I have lived in the house part-time and now full-time for the last 2 years, one of the things that we've discovered is how unpleasant it can be to walk from the driveway to the house uncovered in the rain and the snow. And one of the things that we have been talking about doing for these several years is to put a covered walkway. And so as we've gotten older and it becomes more difficult to run up that walkway, a covered walkway would be nice to have. So the proposal is to run a covered walkway, very open, from the front of the house, the southmost portion of the house, to the driveway and connect it to the garage so that we'll be able to pull in and out of the garage, get out and be undercover all the way into the house. We've also proposed adding a small solarium/greenhouse off the back of the garage, which will be connected with a breezeway. It won't be a year-round. It's really a 3-season solarium that would be used as a painting studio, perhaps to grow plants, start them early, and enjoy them a little bit later into the season. So those are the two portions of the project that we're talking about tonight. We know most of you because of the work we did to the renovation of the house several years ago, and we really love it. We realize how fortunate we are to have this wonderful historic schoolhouse. Peter, do you want to talk about specifics?
I'm Peter Sharapko. The letter of intent is truly a statement about the two parts of what we're trying to do. The covered walkway and the greenhouse solarium. The essential thing about the covered walkway that is different from the original thoughts that we had is that the covered walkway is almost completely open. You can see the house from the street, And there's, from Morton Road, which is, take the number 5, road. Can you put on number 5, David?
Got it?
Yeah. That really shows the fact that from the street, you see all the way through, and yet you have an enclosure. Now, the 6 feet wide roof of this covered walkway is just enough to cover both the walkway and a small area to the right of it as you're walking toward the house. Excuse me. And the roof pitch takes advantage of north and south, so that during the winter, when you have snow on it, the snow will pitch down toward the south as it melts. It's a 90-degree angle, which you'll see in the typical elevation, typical section, which I've included in the drawings. Now, I think it's the next drawing, which is the perspective which we have here. That's really a sketch that is completely, that's great. Showing, in other words, a view from the road. And this really is, if you were walking past or driving past, or even jogging past and you were going so fast you didn't know what it was. You would see into the distance, you would see the space beyond. But at the same token, it's clear that that is a boundary between here and there. Right here. Coming out of the garage. Coming out of the garage and to the house. That's part of the one building idea. In other words, we have not created a new building. It's connected to the garage. And likewise, the connection to the greenhouse. Could we go to earlier keep going. Okay, that would be something. I prefer to just point it out here. There's the covered walkway. This is the greenhouse. You can see that it's, during most of the time you could walk over, in the grass to get to the greenhouse. But this is the connection that we've chosen to make. And one of the points that was made at a meeting, a preliminary meeting, was the viability and the desirability of having this connection between the garage, the door, and going out there. We had worked several times in that vein. Now, let's look at the plan very briefly of the greenhouse. If we go later in this, there we go. Can you raise it just a bit? This is the garage. This is the greenhouse. The greenhouse is about 110 square feet, actually less. It's actually tall. Maybe 10'6". That's tall for a house in some respects. It has a pitched roof similar to the pitch of the covered walkway. And it's passive construction. Now, what do I mean by passive? Will there be a slate floor? And we've experienced how slate, when it snows, or whenever you see it, the snow melts. So commensurately, the slate will absorb the heat. And there's a trunk wall at the north part of this. Now, what do I mean by a trunk wall? It's 8 layers of drywall, which is going to be on the north side of the house there. The specs are virtually buildable from. The description of that, if you could just show me the lower left of that drawing. This is just to remind you what you've already seen. Those are buildable specifications for a 110 square foot structure. Both of them are considered, as I said, I don't use this word very often, but they're simple carpentry. And the single one context that we try to make this thing in context with the existing garage. The existing garage has visible of two layers of concrete masonry units. And that's what we see here as the basis to hold up the glass for our house, concrete house. That's maybe 3 minutes longer than I had thought, but that's 5 minutes more than you might need. Are there any questions technically or from a point of view of the intent of what we're trying to do? Yes?
Well, I noticed that the greenhouse is on the north side of the structure, which sort of makes it less useful as a greenhouse that way, in my estimation.
Well,
But your
we
uses-
don't want to put it to the south of the garage. It's
Driveway.
and that's the driveway.
Right.
If I were designing we were designing the site plan now, we would probably do that. But in the course of the day, it gets to the early morning light on the east. The house is almost pure north-south.
Right. I see that.
So, to your point, that's what we're trying to take advantage of as best as we can.
It's very open behind the garage, isn't it? There's not a lot of trees, it's a...
And if you go to the west, if we were to have gone to the west, that's actually a tree line of cedar and black walnuts that would have shaded that far more than going north. And you saw there was a separation of about almost 5 feet between the back of the garage and the house, so it really will be, there's a pathway, so it's light, but it won't be shaded that much.
Now, the covered walkway does not have any side panels to it, right?
That's correct. The only thing that it will do for snow protection on those sides is do some plantings along the sides.
And that's for
But
both
we
the
didn't-
covered
we didn't-
walkway and both for the covered walkway and the breezeway between the garage and the sunroom? Or is the...
You better show that elevation again, if you would.
No, the breezeway between the garage, that's a solid construction.
Okay, okay. But the covered walkway between the house and the garage is open on the sides?
That's correct. If you go all the way back to there,
Yep.
everything, oops, sorry, one more. There.
Yeah.
Everything except, oops, am I doing that? I was the one doing that,
Wrong
sorry.
button. There's one.
Okay, there we go. Now there's the red button.
A little bit.
Right here, there will be a panel there, and then if you look at the plan coming slightly, so it bends in. But those people will be open to the street. There's just, how far is that here? About 8 feet? If there's going to be panel there?
What's the panel made of?
7. 2x4 construction with plywood on top of it. I mean, it's one thing to have the covered walkway with bushes that mitigate the snow, but coming out of the garage, if you don't have something small amount, it's useless. So it's part and parcel of doing that passing through. But it's just that one facade there, that one surface, it doesn't come
Yeah,
forward.
I'm moving this time. I think I know what I'm doing.
I think
Okay, so you see,
the ceiling plan is what, I think it's the most fun thing that I drew in the last 2 years. Because
I don't know how to
that
go up
really
and
shows you the relationship of existing and new.
okay, there's the thing. So this, is that correct, this here?
Got it.
Okay. Because there'll be a door that's being cut into the garage,
Yep.
so you need to be able to open the door. And if there's snow there, that's not going to work very well.
Got it.
That door is just at the convenient location of where all the other stuff at the corner of the garage is, you know, the existing things.
Anything else?
Right, we have a rake there. So,
Eric?
The drywall you said was going to be multiple layers of drywall?
I've done this before.
Well, doesn't the paper in the drywall cause a sort of a much larger thermal gradient than you want in a trim wall?
No,
All
it
right.
would be water resistant. It could just be the concrete board if we needed to.
Okay. So, and that's what, about 6 inches thick then? Something like that?
We will probably add a little bit as we're building, and I think we would have your favor on that. But as I have it shown now, it's like between 5, 5.5, what have you. And it's painted black, which is equivalent to a really massive amount of material. Trum is defined as such a thing in back of glass. And here it's so small of a room that we could say it's right in back of it. I mean, I'm speaking familiarly, but we could say that, yes, that's it. The goal was not to make a Trum construction, but it appeared to me that was the logical thing to do with very, 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 very low cost involved.
I have two quick questions that I raised for the planning board and the town planner. The first one is there any lighting proposed? And if so, we would just like to see a cut spec of what that lighting would be to make sure it's consistent with the town code.
There's no exterior lighting.
No exterior lighting at all? And inside the walkway, under the...
No, there's nothing there except maybe a battery pack that would be on when you make noise and you go past.
And then my other question, but it sounds like you kind of answered, is the solarium going to be heated, or it's going to be,
It will
actually...
be naturally heated,
naturally
there will be no heat that we put in there.
Okay.
Catherine said one thing, I had another take on it, which I think is also true. If we have X amount of time, which is the amount of time that we can have for the use of the outdoors, or even the garage, we've extended, I would estimate, 3 to 4 weeks on each end of the season that the solarium greenhouse will allow it to be. In other words, this is the natural upshot of what happens when you have a greenhouse. I mean, glass is incredible, and if the light goes through the glass onto the slate really absorbs it. It really becomes a thing. We've seen slate when there's snow on it, where the grass next to it is just, still growing and all that during the heat when you have 6, 7 inches of snow. And then the slate, which we have, some of it new, some of it old, is either melted or completely black.
So as a quick follow-up for the board, so my question was raised because in my mind there's a little question as to whether or not this would be an accessory use or not, the solarium itself, given the fact it's not habitable space. And I talked to Michael about this. I don't know that I have an answer. I don't think it affects your plan at all, but it could affect potentially the ability to put other accessory structures on in the future. But I do think that's something we might have to look into a little bit just to decide if it is, just to make sure the application is submitted properly.
Well, I would respond immediately without tromming on top of you. But I would say that we've envisioned that as a space that we might have had on the original addition to the house. We might have done an original addition to the house in that respect. Instead of that, we chose to do a an addition that repeated the plan of the front, that is to say, south porch roof on the back there. I mean, we can't do too many things at once. We planned ahead enough to know that we weren't going to have that, but that we always might have it. So I would beg you to not consider it accessory, and we're not using it as such. It's not retail, it's not commercial. People may want to see it. They want to stop us to see it.
It mostly comes down to the definition, habitable
I think
versus non-habitable space.
Well, the thing,
Garage is not habitable, so why would an addition to the garage be considered the same as the garage?
Well,
that was what I
Good,
thought.
well, the
reason
the greenhouse is actually a defined accessory use. That's
If
why.
it's freestanding.
No, the definition actually doesn't define that. So it's a question, again, I don't think it impacts your application or ability to do it. I think it just is whether or not we want to clarify that in the application. I think it's something we just need to look into.
It's an issue that we're dealing with in the accessory structure definition. It has a lot of things in there which quite frankly don't make a lot of sense. And so it's not that this is going to hold up your application, anything like that. No, it's not. No, absolutely not. It just points out once again, I think as Jim has pointed out, that the way they've written the definition, it's very confusing. You consider a garage, if it's part of your house, to be an attached accessory structure in the definition. And we've tried to get away from that. And it's the same situation here. Yes, it's a greenhouse. I have one off my house, and I do not consider it an accessory structure. It's part of the house. But the way they wrote the definition, unfortunately, that can happen. So it's something that we need to work on. But Jim is pointing out that this is something that we need to look at, and this is just another instance of the definition giving us a little bit of grief.
And just making sure that we, get the process through as quickly as we can for you as well, that we don't run into a hiccup, later on when we're looking at approval and then come back and say, oh, wait a minute, there might be an issue. So we'll look into it and figure it out again. I don't think it'll hold anything up. It's a technicality, but
Exactly.
I'll talk with Mike and then we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
So just wanna make sure.
Just, what is the intended use of the greenhouse?
A place where we can go and sit and read, possibly, I'm a painter also. Catherine reads, she's been known to buy books.
Well, also start plays, and that's it. It was just somewhat of a potting shed, that sort of thing. So it's planned early in the year.
But this is an issue for us to deal with.
Sorry?
This is an issue that we have to deal with in terms of definitions.
Okay.
I think it's important to remember the word accessory, the root of which is access. That wasn't even a punchline. It's, I think it's endemic to what you would have to be struggling with.
It's part of it. Any other questions? I think we're good. We have a resolution. I think it looks really nice. I know we worked a long time on this. You worked a long time on it. I think the breezeway between, that's what I would call it, a breezeway as opposed, because it's open to the world and it looks, I think it's going to look very nice. It's going to
There
look
will definitely be a breeze coming from it.
There you go.
Oh, that north-south wind.
Okay, the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board here acts as follows on the application by Peter and Catherine Sharapko for site plan approval in Town Code Chapter 125 at 383 Morton Road, and located along Scenic Road, Morton Road. We accept the application and supporting documents as adequate for initiating review by the planning board, its advisors, and the public. We classify the proposed action as type 2 under secret with coordinated environmental quality review is precluded. We're scheduling a public hearing on the application for April 1st at,
I think it says 35.
okay, it's 6:35. We're good, that's good. And directs the clerk to undertake or otherwise cause noticing and posting thereof in accordance with the requirements set forth in the Town Code Chapter 125 zone. We're delegating planning board members Sharon and Woody to conduct a field visit to the project site and report their observations at the time of the public hearing. In accordance with Town Code Chapter 118, waterfront consistency review, we're referring the application to the Waterfront Advisory Committee for review and written comment concerning consistency with the LWRP. In accordance with the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, are we referring the application to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development for review. We're referring the application to the New York State Historic Preservation Office for review and comment, as existing principal structure is recorded as being constructed in 1890 and is located in the Hudson River Historic Landmarks District. We are authorizing without prejudice to any information or comment that may be presented at the public hearing and may arise based on both the above cited field visit and referrals, preparation of a working draft of an approvals resolution for the planning board's consideration on April 1st, or as may be later timed. Could I hear a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Very good. Gretchen will help you with the noticing, and Woody and Sharon will be setting up to do the site visit.
Terrific.
And thank you.
Michael, is that the CABWAC?
Yes, the COD also, yes.
Yeah, I'll bring them downstairs. Oh, you dropped something.
Okay, our next item, I've scheduled 5 minutes for this. Or maybe I've gone over the top. Mark is going to, basically this is sort of to bring us up to speed on proposed changes and the Rhinebeck Ford site. They're going to be, they want to talk to us, they want to see what we think, they want to get a little bit of feedback, and after which they'll have to survey their applications. I think that's correct. Or you want feedback and then you can prepare your applications.
Yes. Are they going to be a Chevy dealership? Those would be nice. One or two up there.
We'll start with one first. Good evening, Mark Lewinsky, representing Art Ford LLC, Rhinebeck Ford. So we're back. I went through the files, and actually the last time it was in front of this board, there was a public hearing in October 2015 for approval of the site plan, which was followed by application to the ZBA for multiple area variances, and that was in February and March of 2016. Not much has changed with regard to the application. It is still to what's up on the screen right now is just a shot of the existing conditions as the site exists right now. Currently, it's 2 parcels, and part of the previous application was to combine those parcels. That remains the same. And what it does is a little bit of history. There were prior applications made on behalf of Rhinebeck Ford for area variances with regard to coverage. So it certainly takes that aspect of a development of the site for Rhinebeck Ford off the table. It is now, by combining the 2 properties, there will be no issue with any of the bulk regulations with regard to coverage. What's also shown on this existing condition plan these areas here, those are delineated ACLB wetlands, and then there are the associated adjacent areas with them. Like, for example, here, there's the adjacent area associated right there with that wetland. And the same here, and then you can see it's just a small spot right through here that is actually not in the adjacent area. So there's quite a bit of wetland on the property. Obviously, access off of Route 9G, 2 points of ingress and egress. There's an existing entrance here and here, located here. Main building, parking through this area, and, storage in the rear, parking also located on the south side. North is this way, north is to the right. This is oriented just to fit the plan, fit the site on the plan. So total acreage, when you so the existing parcel here is a little more than 3 acres, and this is about 5.4 acres. So when you combine the two, it's about 8.5 acres for both of the properties. So here, this is currently the division line between the two. This would go away and just become one single parcel. Jim, if you could flip to the next sheet, please. And so when you look, and so I also provided reduced plans for the board members to take a look at. And so first I'll go through a description of what the proposed site changes are, and then I'll get into a little bit more of the detail. Starting along Route 9G.
Mark, just to interrupt you for 1 second, as you're going ahead, would you tell us if there's a significant change from the last time we looked at it? I mean, when you're covering the details, am I making myself?
Yeah, you are. There's the only change. I'll just cover that now.
Okay.
Is right here. Is that correct? Also, Jeff Walsh from representing Rhinebeck Ford is here. I don't believe the last time we had this area here is an expansion of the service area, and so I think there's been a change to the expansion. We've gone out a little further to the north, which actually reduces some of the parking through here in order to have an adequate drive aisle. And so this section will be an addition, and then as before with the previous applications, so this darker line, let's try to go around right there like that. That's the existing building, and then so here's a proposal, and these are 2 additions on the east side of the building. So they're 2 1,200 square foot additions that are there. Those were part of the previous application.
And that included the second floor.
And it included a second floor, okay? And so now what's happening with the building is no second floor. There are these 2 1,200 square foot additions, and then this addition right here, which is the only reason I did it, Jim, because I can't read. That addition is 3,760 square feet. It's basically 50 by 75. It's the same length of the building. So what it allows is another 3 service bays? 6 service bays, another 6 service bays there. Other than that, Melody, the concept of the site has not changed at all.
So even though we're not looking at it, you're still looking at the same landscape type plan?
We're looking at the same landscape, the same facade change to the Route 9G face of the building. And this time, and we're developing that right now because of this new service area. There'll be a modification, obviously, to this facade too, because it's visible from Route 9G. But everything else on the site remains as it did before,
Including the new parking area?
Yeah, including so I'll just walk through here. This is just further like redefining the parking area. When you looked at the existing plan, you saw that it was not that symmetrical or completely defined. So here it's defined with some islands. And the reason for the islands are for stormwater management, right? Because we're now resurfacing this, and what we're going to do is these are going to be depressed islands. So we're going to utilize these depressed islands to capture stormwater, treat it, and ultimately it's treated and discharged into this wetland area, and then it ultimately all goes to the south.
How are you going to treat it?
Excuse me?
How are you going to treat it?
Just with vegetation.
Oh, okay.
And the vegetation mainly.
It's just going to trickle through the vegetation and gravel.
Absolutely. So, a bioretention area or rain garden type of treatment for that.
So it's a natural, completely natural.
Completely natural. I'll stay on parking areas. If you recall, so we proposed a roadway up here, and then we had a parking area that was tucked into the woods. So here you can see the tree line. There's an existing proposed tree. This is all tree through here. And so we're going to cut in and put a parking area up on this hill. It's a little bit elevated here. And so there'll be a new parking area that's developed here. And then also part of this, you can see this piece right there. That's a new sanitary system. The existing sewage disposal system is located here, close to the wetland area. And now a new system will be developed with a tank pump station, go through here, go underneath this roadway and pump up to here. After, I don't know if you recall, after several soil testing on the site, found an area here that was actually suitable soils for on-site disposal, witnessed by the health department, has gone through an initial review by the health department. That was back in 2016. And, we need to further develop that. So it's twofold. It allows some additional parking that's screened with the woods itself. And if you recall from the previous application, and I can provide all those documents, we had quite a bit of landscaping to supplement that also.
Mark, is that standard to put a leach field under a parking lot?
You're allowed to do that under certain conditions. So
What are those conditions?
It is not allowed by the DEC. DEC will not allow for you to have subsurface disposal under a paved area. Dutchess County Health Department will. And so it's flow dependent. As long as the wastewater flow predicted is less than 1,000 gallons a day, therefore it doesn't require a speedies permit, speedies for stormwater, speedies for sanitary discharge. Dutchess County allows that. So this will be, and this has been designed in such a way that there's adequate cover over there are chambers. There are trapezoidal chambers that will be under the surface of the pavement. And
Is it precast concrete or something?
yeah, you can use, they manufacture both plastic HDPE chambers that are sufficient for H20 loading. You just need adequate cover over them to sustain vehicle loads.
And how deep is that?
You need 18 inches of cover over the chambers
Okay.
in order to do that. If you use precast concrete, it's
And
just
your
12
permeable
inches.
soil is good, deep enough to...
It is, actually, it's all sand up here. Everything else is clay on the site. There's sand right here.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so it's gone through an initial review from the health department. Some modifications are required, but don't anticipate a problem. Also, since I'm on the health department, this is now public water supply because of occupancy and use of the property. So it will, part of the application will be to develop that with the health department, and it is now as a public water supply.
And that's going to replace the existing treatment system?
This sanitary will replace this. This will be abandoned and removed.
Help me understand public water supply. Who's the supplier of the water?
It's private public water supply. And it's defined by, in this case, it would be transient occupants of the property. So there's enough people, they meet the threshold with enough people that are entering, first of all, working there, and then customers that are using the facilities. That falls under, there's definitions that the state health department has for public water supply. So it's private, not like, and it is different than a municipal water supply. So there are, some of the rules are different.
And that's under 1,000 a day?
What's that?
And that's under 1,000 a day for that?
Yes, it is.
With the expanded use, the additional 3 bays, imagine there's going to be 6 bays, there's going to be 6 more mechanics on site, there's going to be...
Actually, will there, Jeff, will the, with regard to employees on the property, will there?
Probably 3 more.
Not that many. They're working multiple shifts now, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that one will increase.
Even so, because I put a flow meter on the water supply. So it's basically equivalent to a 4 or 5 bedroom home. That's it. Is the amount of water that they use.
Mark, how will you be crossing the wetland to go to that back parking area?
So it would be a paved roadway to cross that wetland.
There's going to be a culvert there.
Yeah, there's a culvert right there that allows the water to pass through. I could get into it later, Michael, but on there, I've listed, there's a table right here with regard to wetland disturbance. And although, and I list both existing and proposed conditions for that. And, you know, although it's in the, in the actual ACOE wetland itself, we're only disturbing, total disturbance of 0.0, like less, you know, 0.05 of an acre, very little. It's just this portion right here. Obviously, there's some impact on the adjacent area, but I know, like, based on the percentage of what already exists, as far as what's being encroached on the adjacent area, the percentage isn't that great. You know, we tried to respect that, what was happening on the site.
Are we going to get new elevations on the addition?
Yes, on this addition through here, I'll provide the board with, you know, building elevations and some renderings of what
Are
the...
you working off the ones that we had?
Yes, what was approved previously by the board here, that will remain.
What's the total increase in square footage? And
So-
what's the existing square footage?
So the
and where
existing,
are we going?
so that, I provided a summary on sheet 2 of the building. So the existing building is 9,340 square feet, 9,340 square feet. That's gross floor area. Okay, and then, so that's on sheet 2. There it is, oh yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Where is it?
9,340, right
It's
here.
inside, yeah.
Guys are getting
Right.
ready for the team
Why don't
here.
you read this one?
Right there. So, and ultimately proposed is 15,500. So jumping ahead to the area variances that are required for this project. So, I met with Michelle, I met with the zoning administrator. And so we have a building that's greater than 8,000 square feet. So this section of the zoning code that limits building, not only footprint, but gross floor area of the building to be 8,000 square feet. Everywhere in the town of Rhinebeck, except the, what's the zone across the street, Michael?
ORP.
ORP, Office Research Park. So this building pre-exists, so it pre-exists at 9340. What you're allowed by zoning is, if it's an existing non-conforming use, you're allowed 50% expansion of that existing non-conforming use. This proposal represents about 67% increase in building floor area. It's actually footprint, but so I'll just call it, so that's the entire floor area. So we try to minimize that variance required. And I'll also note that actually Michelle provided the information for me. She went back, after I had a discussion on this project, she went back and took a look at notes from the comprehensive plan. And she provided a document to me that said that the goal of the comprehensive plan was to limit 8,000 square feet for retail sales. And so I'm not considering this retail sales, it's automobile repair and sales. So that's certainly one of the, documents that we're going to present when going to the zoning board of appeals. for that. I know I've exceeded my 5 minutes.
All right, quick question. Where's the access for the proposed addition on for the work area?
This through here, Jeff, help me out, we're gonna have,
There's going to be one side door, like there is now on the existing building.
Which side?
On the existing building right now, there's this door.
Okay, so they can put that
This
side
door.
right there.
And in the back of the building, there's 3 doors, there'll be 2 here,
Okay,
just in the back.
okay.
so, all remains the same, landscaping, lighting, we will develop this lighting for the site plan, loading,
Does the issue still exist with the poles?
does lighting now, there's utility poles, Central Hudson has poles out there that provide light to this, it's this portion of the parking area. This part is pretty dark back through here. And there's some existing lights, Central Hudson lights on the buildings also. So I don't know if the board members recall this, but so following the application of the planning board went to the ZBA for multiple variances. One of the variances was for the lights on here, and so we were requesting that these lights to remain. That variance was denied. And so what was granted at that time was, right now the allowable pole height in the town of Rhinebeck is 15 feet. But that area variance, which has since expired, and we obviously have to reapply, the ZBA granted an area variance for 20 feet for the pole height through here. We also made application for signage because we exceed the allowable signage on the site. The previous ZBA application, that area variance was granted. Same thing with front yard setback, for parking. Required front yard setback is 10 feet, and we're about 4 or 5 feet off of the front yard. Obviously, we've changed it with the proposal, adding some landscaping along through there, along the west side of Route 9G. And I just note that that area variance was also granted by the ZBA. So it's once again, it's still multiple applications, application to this board for a site plan approval, wetlands application, and application to the ZBA for area variance for the building. We're going to also reapply for the front setback for the parking. And signage also. And I think internally we'll revisit the lighting and then have a discussion with the ZBA about that also.
Mark, you've got 2 curb cuts.
Yes.
What's the proposal? One way in, one way out, or
It's
in and out in both of them?
in and out of both ways, and that's the way it's designed. The idea of this is to get trucks off the road. And now they can come in, get around, and exit, when they're unloading vehicles.
Oh, yeah, that's obviously was a problem, still is a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
We
we're...
have, can I just say something?
Yeah, sure.
We got everybody under the flow now, keep them off of 9G. They come in through the north side, go around to the back of the building, come up the other side, they unload right there, and then they exit out. Anybody on the road, new drivers, for example, that maybe not have known the route before, we pull them in right off the road. I understand that there's safety concerns with having them unload cars
Yeah,
on
historically, that was a
9G.
problem.
So we're pretty strict with that. When they come in one side, we leave it open so they can go to the back of the building and make the full turn and come around and exit, unload on the other side and then exit on the other side.
So that entry is going to be widened out enough for them to make that turn?
Yeah, it will be. So these are now, what you see here, Eric, these are minor commercial entrances per New York State DOT specifications.
Okay.
These are, there's 25-foot radius there, with a flare on both ends. Gives you plenty of room to swing in.
So the typical car carrier can come in there without making multiple turns to get in.
Absolutely. So in summary, it's essentially the same application, just a revision of some of the previous materials we'll clean up, but the concept still remains the same, and that's the intention for the application to be made to the planning board.
Are you before the ZBA yet? Or is the
No.
application okay?
So I guess procedurally, is an application made to this board first and then
Well-
to the ZBA?
We can't, the planning board can't accept an application if variance is required until the ZBA accepts the applications for the variance. It's not approved it necessarily, it just accepts it.
Okay.
So that it's possible the planning board will be in a position to approve what you're asking for.
Okay.
If the ZBA doesn't accept those variance applications, or if there's some of them they don't accept, which I don't think they're going to do, then those would have to be dropped out of the plan for the planning board to proceed. So probably the first step is, get it to the ZBA, and you can also send your application to us at the same time, but we won't be able to accept it and schedule a public hearing and do all that until the ZBA has actually accepted the applications for the variances.
I think we'll do that, so that way the ZBA has all the information.
Yeah, there's no reason not to.
So as long as this board doesn't have a problem, I'll address both boards in the application.
I think,
And so you'll get a copy of the ZBA materials also.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Any more questions for Mark?
When I wasn't here, obviously, earlier,
Yeah.
the back lot, is that supposed to be paved? The new?
Yes, this will be paved.
Okay.
And so there's, so Jim, you'll see and the plans were previously approved by the town engineer, Ray Drukowski, reviewed them, reviewed our drainage analysis, and so we have some stormwater treatment through here also. And so I'll provide all that information to the board.
On the little road that goes across the wetlands, there's going to be a culvert under. Do you think there have to be some guardrails or anything on the side of that?
No, the grading is such that, Eric, it's not, there isn't much of a change through there.
Okay. So, but you can have a duck and frog crossing underneath there, or?
There it is, right through there.
But you're not going high enough to make it a problem?
A box culvert? No.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will await your next submission.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, I'd like to see the elevation of the building because it's significantly changed the face of it.
Yeah, well,
From the one plan that you had when you came in originally, because you had a second story on both sides.
right, and so now, you're right, what you said, that this essentially is gonna be the same as before. So it's, stone face, but this will now change because of that addition to the service area.
Is there going to be any, so if I'm looking at it from the road, it looks like you've got some parking directly in front of that addition, up close, right where it turns back?
Right
No,
here?
No, the new addition.
Here?
Yep, just in front of that? Is
No.
that parking?
No, that's not parking.
What is that?
That,
Layer.
yeah,
It's
there's
display
parking. That's just kind of a courtyard and then there's a display.
Is there any landscaping going in there
Yeah,
to break
so
up
right-
that wall?
Yeah, so there's landscaping through here.
Okay.
It says display parking. What does that mean?
Vehicle, just,
Just cars that are for
yeah,
sale? on
just a
display.
car there, and two
I
cars.
was just because that wasn't there before, we weren't looking at that as a place that needed landscaping.
Right,
But now if I'm looking at a big wall,
absolutely,
I'm going to want to see that broken up.
yeah.
And I see there's no possibility for landscaping between the parking area and the new addition.
Here?
No, on the north.
Here.
No, I think that's.
Oh, here, well, here, no, no, because I have a 28-foot drive aisle here, I think I have. Yeah, I think I have 28-foot drive aisle through here. But we have these islands. So, once again, so we're going to have some vegetation in those islands.
I'm just on the island.
In the islands. So there will be some.
And they'll be sunken along with all the rest of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What keeps cars from driving into those?
There'll be curb here, but there's inlets,
Okay.
like curb cuts.
Slotted curb.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see the great infrastructure conclusion. That's kind of the way a lot of things are going, and I'm excited to see them on the plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, thank you for your time. Jeff, you have anything?
Does anyone else have any business tonight?
Got no business being here.
Woody?
Well, since there's no further business, I make a motion to adjourn.
Very good. We stand adjourned at 7:25.
Might be a record.
I think it's a personal best for this planning board. Thank you all very much. I believe we'll see you all next month.